back. Angela Wolf here, and yes, I'm running a few minutes behind schedule, but I'm going to just tell you what I did today, and I'll make it like really short, and I will be able to hear you laugh through the camera. So, you all know I don't cook very well. I'm working on it, but I'm hosting Thanksgiving in my house. So, guess what? I decided to go grocery shopping today. Yes, it's the day before Thanksgiving. If I ever do that again, somebody send me a message. Hey, Arnell, Phyllis, I see you all rolling in. So just so you know, I'm going to sew a knit top today. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time chatting because guess what? We are getting ready for birthday week. Yay! And that means we're going to be sewing every single day. But in the meantime, the grocery shopping is a no-go. If anybody has to go, I recommend don't. I won't even tell you how long I was there, which is why my hair is wet, because I just got out of the shower. I went grocery shopping. It took hours. And of course, the whole thing, as you all know, when you invite people over, you want it to be perfect. We'll work on that. You can ask my family later. All right, so this is what I have for you today. I have this fabric out, and I don't know if any of you saw me, maybe I think it was last week that I made that top. It's the same fabric, except it was all gray. I could wear that every single day. It's like a big, soft sweater, and I turned it into kind of like a V-neck, I would say, kind of an over sweater. And I'm just going to use my usual muslin that I use. It's my pattern that I use as a sloper for all my knit tops. And you're going to watch how I quickly can cut this. I'm going to eyeball a lot of it. So those of you that don't like that, I'm sorry, but you'll see what happens. And then I'm going to start sewing. When the hour's up, I'll stop. But hopefully I can get this top finished before we leave. Well, before we leave the show today. But I hope you are all, by the way, getting ready for your Thanksgiving and you had a little bit more success at the grocery store than I did. We'll just leave it at that. I think I should stick to sewing. All right, let's go cut some fabric. And you can ask your questions as I roll along. I'll be sure to pop in and see those. Wait a minute. Marcia, I just saw this as I'm walking away. You just found out this morning you're hosting, so you're going to be at the grocery store. Good luck. Good luck, and I hope your dinner goes well. I just saw that. Now, that was awesome. All right, so this is what I made. I still have some things out from the Fashion Sewing Club from last week. I cleaned the whole studio yesterday, but I left a few of these out. All right, so what are we going to be doing birthday week? You're just going to have to wait to find out because I have some surprises for you. And also, I have a good coupon code for you all that starts tomorrow and lasts until the end of birthday week. All right, so this is the selvage. I actually think this would make a great part of a trim that maybe I could add somewhere. It's not a reversible, but I'm going to save this portion this time. This is basically the selvage, but maybe I could add it to the wrist or something fun. So I'm going to try not to cut through that. All right, let's get rolling. Time is a-wasting. I'm just going to fold one side because I'm going to cut the front first. I usually use a much bigger cutting area, but this will work so you guys can see it. I'm making sure that it's folded equally, then it's on grain. If you don't know what that is, you could watch one of my old episodes, but you can actually see, I can see the grain line running this way. So the cut line at the end might not be even. You want to make sure that your grain lines are all equal. I've already washed and dried this fabric, and it has a little bit of a nap. Actually, the nap is going that way. Yay. Let's flip it around. You can hardly really tell that it has the nap, but I can feel it, and I know it because I wore the other one nonstop now. Does it matter? Well, you just want to make sure you cut all the pieces going the same way. And this side, as you notice, doesn't have quite as big of a selvage as the other side, so I'll save the other side. Okay. So this is my sloper from many, many years ago. I want to make this a little bit longer. So let me bring this up so you can kind of see what's happening here. going to put weights on here so the fabric doesn't pull to the back. All right, now when I made this, I didn't make a pattern for it. I literally eyeballed it. So I'm going to make it 2 inches longer than my sloper. There you go. That's 2 inches. And on this one, I made this armhole a little bit lower and I made this out a little bit. So I'm just going to cut it and you can watch, follow along. You could also make your own pattern by what I'm showing you. All right. I gave myself quite a bit of extra room on the side because this is kind of a baggy sweater. And the neckline was a V, remember? So for now, I'm just going to cut it like this, but you'll see what I do in a minute. I use my sloper as a guide as I'm cutting. Now I want my shoulder to go out further, and I want this to be lower. So how much lower? I went about an inch. So I'm going to lower that. I just put a mark with my scissors, and I'm going to extend this out about an inch. So now when I go to cut my sleeve, I'm following this here. If you can imagine, I'm following this, but now I'm going to lower this about an inch, right where my snip is right here. This is called winging it in pattern design, but I've done this so much I can just visually just see this. I don't have to mark it. If you're new to this, you might have to be a little more precise. So now you can see my original sloper, my shoulders out further, and my armholes lower. So what am I going to have to do with the sleeve? Well, that's about an inch. I'm going to be adding an inch to the sleeve from the front and back side. So literally 2 inches to the sleeve to make it a little more, a little looser. And then we'll work on this section here in just a minute. So I'm going to put this to the side while I cut the back. Hopefully camera isn't blinky today. You know, it's the day before a holiday, and usually the camera doesn't always behave that day. All right, let's get this piece here. This will be for the back. Checking the grain lines. It's a little crooked. There we go. So I can see everything's pretty much lining up all the way across. This fabric has a light stretch, by the way. I know a lot of you bought this at the fabric stash sale. I think there may be, well, there's a few yards left if you're looking for a good sweater fabric. I'm happy to say I've got a whole nother batch coming in. Probably it should be here in about 2 weeks. All right, look at my slippers. They're so bad. They're so old, but they work. One of these days I could recopy them onto cardboard, make it a little fresher. All right, I don't quite need that much fabric. I am a stickler for not wasting, so I'm just going to fold it back just a little bit. 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, that's good. All right. I know you can't see the bottom, but you'll get the idea. I'm giving myself a little extra room. And then come up here. I'm going to go around the neckline here. Extend that out. And again, this is how you can compare really fast and really easy. Let's see how wide I did this neckline. To there. So this is going to be the edge of my shoulder. I'm just going to cut this out so you can see it better. All right, and then let's compare my side seam. And then I will know exactly how far down I did this. I told you I was winging it, but I still measure. About an inch. Boy, that's perfect. I'm going to try to cut around. Lean over the camera here. All right, so that's where this is going to end. So I have this here. And let's just slide this over so I can figure out just exactly. Oh, there's my snip right here. So you still need the curve of your neckline, your arm's eye, otherwise your sleeve isn't going to fit in there. So all I did is I extended my shoulder out, lowered my armhole, which means I'm going to have to make my sleeve a little bit looser than what I have or it's not going to fit. All right, so that is the back. Then we have the front. And as you know, I actually made my neckline a little bit wider because I did a V-neck. So I'm just going to line these up here, just like this. Actually, I'll slide it down so you can see. So this is where the shoulder is going to match up. Once you have the seam allowance, this will match, but I'm just going to butt these up together for right now. And because I'm going to use a 2-inch binding for the neckline, I'm going to trim this away. Doesn't have to be 2 inches, but I'm going to trim this away a little bit. So I'm going to go away maybe about 1.5 inches in the back. I'm cutting over to the shoulders. And I'm going to cut down. Hopefully my arms aren't in your way. I'm trying to lean over the camera. I'm going to cut this down just a little bit, about 1 inch. And from this side, I'm just going to have this meet at the shoulder. So there's the previous top, and here's my new neckline. So I took away about 1 inch here, about 1 3/4 inches here, and it looks like about 1 inch, 1.25 inches in the back. All right, so now my wider neckline will fit and it won't be bunched up at my neck. All right, what about the neckline? We need a binding and some sleeves. We're going to keep this rolling. All right, sleeves it is. Now I'm eyeballing the sleeves as well, and you can watch how I will end up fitting them in case I do it not quite perfectly. You can always measure too, but you wonder how I can make a top in just a few minutes before the live show. This is how, especially if it's a new design. All right. Lift up this fabric. So, by the way, in the comments, I would love to know, because you know tonight is when I sit there and read them all, because I can't see them all during the live show, if anybody has any tips for cooking turkey, and if anybody has any good recipes for desserts or ideas for what else to have with the turkey. I have about every ingredient that the grocery store can have, just in case I needed it. But I'd love to hear what your favorite item is for Thanksgiving. And I know a lot of people don't even eat turkey, but I have turkey, and that's about as far as I've gotten is for the menu. I have every ingredient though. So please let me know, and tonight Wynn and I can have a good laugh reading your comments. Or, you know, even better, why don't you tell me your funniest Thanksgiving story, and then that will give me even more of a laugh, because when I screw something up tomorrow, I will be relating with you. That didn't quite sound right. Relating with your story. All right, so I have plenty of room for my sleeve. I know that this sleeve is a little bit short, because when I hold this up my arm, that's about perfect. So I'm going to need to leave a hem allowance. And I also like my sleeves and my sweaters really long. All right, so I'm going to give myself, remember, I need 1 inch in the front and 1 inch in the back. So I'm going to slide this over this way. Well, why don't I go this way first? It's a weird angle for me. That's not the way I usually angle my. All right, so let's give ourselves a little bit of room here. You know what, I'm going to use the scissors so I can just kind of eyeball this a little bit better. So I know I'm going to need some for this. You have to imagine your sleeve still has to fit in, right? So I can't just extend this out 1 inch, or that's going to look weird. I extend out the side just a little bit. And then when I get close right here, I'm going to slide this over a little bit more. So I have a little bit more room in the sleeve cap, which will make it just a little of a looser sleeve. And then we'll slide this over. Let me just make sure it's balanced. Pretty close. And this side looks weird, so I gotta fix this. And now let's go ahead and just make sure that this is pretty close to being even. Otherwise I need to, yeah, no, that looks good. And now let's cut this side of the sleeve. All right, don't forget to have a couple snips for the back so you know which one's the front and the back. And then the last thing that we need is our collar, which is 2 inches wide. And I'm just going to go to this end where I have a hole with the fabric to do this. I don't know if you can see this, but the grain line is actually right here. So this cut line here is not straight. So when I just whipped off a couple of yards of this fabric, you really have to make sure that your grain line matches up. You can't just fold it in half and think that's going to be it. Now this fabric has just a little bit, and again, I don't know what you can see on the camera, but there's a little darkness right here. It's kind of a pattern. So that can help you get started to make sure that you're lining it up pretty close. All right, so let's straighten this out. All right, and then I want my band to be a minimum 2 inches wide because it was really cute that way, which would mean you would need 4 inches so you could fold it over. Let's see, how wide would, it was about, actually, how wide is that? Yeah, that's 2 inches, so 4 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll give myself a little extra room for seam allowance. And I don't want to cut this off the table. It's way. So there's my binding now. All right. Let's go press our binding and press up our hem. We're almost ready to sew. Okay, I'm walking over and Connie, I'm cracking up because if you know me, which you do quite well, you know that the first time I made turkey was quite a few years ago, which is why nobody's been back. I think they forgot. I did leave the giblets. I called it something else because it looked like something else, but my family must have forgotten or they wouldn't be coming back. So nobody remind them. Jesse, Amy, I hope you're not watching this or I'm going to be in trouble. All right, let's go to the ironing board. There we go. I love that. Go to YouTube and get some good advice on the turkey. Okay, I like that. All right, so here we have the new binding. Oh, that's really bright. Sorry about that. I'm going to fold it in half. I always press this. It just gives me, this fabric can just kind of move around a little bit when you're trying to insert your neckline. If you're trying to fight the fabric and insert it, you're going to end up with a disaster. So if I give it a little pressing, use the clapper, it'll give me a nice crease as a guide. For inserting it, if that makes sense. By the way, is there anything special? I already have my list for next week, but that doesn't mean I can't alter it. Besides the jeans class, which we'll be launching, I don't have the exact date yet, but it'll be next week. Is there anything when I'm just doing the usual birthday sewing freebie stuff that you would like me to sew? I can tell you I have leggings on the list. I have, what else do I have on the list? Leggings, I have a couple of tops on the list. Jeans are on the list. And unfinished project bin. I don't know. I'm sure none of you have a UFO bin, right? There we go. I'm pressing up the hem on my sleeve. It just makes it really fast and easy. When it comes time to hem, I don't have to come back here. I see somebody asking what iron this is. This is the Laura Star, and I actually have a discount code for you. If you're interested, just let me know. I have one code in the Fashion Sewing Club, but I also have another code. So, and let's go ahead and press up. You know what? My other hem had a curve to it. I forgot about that. So I'll meet you back at the cutting table. I got one more quick thing to do over there. Okay, I want my hem to be longer in the front and the back and shorter on the sides. So let's do this. So this is the back. This is the front. Line these up. I just want to make sure that both of them, where they meet on the side, that meets in the same spot. It doesn't matter. I could have the back longer than the front, but on the sides it has to meet. So that looks pretty good. Let's start here. And now I'm going to take the back and move it over here. I want the back to be a little longer than the front. Perfect. And we'll make the front just a little bit shorter. Perfect. All right. And I can press this up later. So let's go to the serger. All right. Oh my goodness. I forgot to plug this in. Hold on one sec. I have a plug-in right here. Now, if I could use the serger with no plug-in, that might be a miracle. All right. I have a color, I think black, you'll be able to see. I just plug this in and I have the cover stitch all ready to go. I was in such a hurry that I forgot that you need power. Susan, I could be wicked fast, but with no power, it ain't going to work very well. Okay, so let's start with the shoulders. And I start with the front, the back on the bottom, the front on the top, because the serger, it'll just automatically fold then to the back side. A little trick I learned a long time ago. Not on purpose, it just seems that's the way it works. And I'm using a 4-thread overlock. And the other shoulder. You know, guess who took my snips again? I had my new snippers right here, and Wynn walked in yesterday and asked if he could take them fishing today. I just have to use my scissors. He said he loves them for fishing. He put them on his bibs for fishing, and then he can snip away. All right, so there's the V-neck. And I will pin this back at the table because you'll be able to see it better. Any questions, by the way? Hey, Jennifer, happy birthday. Happy birthday. And Lois, her birthday too. There's a lot of birthdays this month. All right, let's meet back over here. Grab my pins. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do the collar now because, I mean, you could do the sleeves first. I just find it when I'm doing the V-neck, it's easier to do it when there's nothing else impeding this, impeding my outfit. So lay this down. If you did not do this already, you want to mark your center back and center front of your top. Usually I do that before I sew the shoulders, but today I forgot. There's the back. Here's the front. Now the front, I'm going to snip down just a little bit further. About that far. That's about a little less than 1/2 inch. Our seam allowances are 1/2 inch, by the way, if you're using a typical ruche tee or something like that. All right, so I'm going to start at the back side. And I'm just going to start pinning my collar in place. I don't measure in advance. I use this entire strip. So I'll have some extra. Now, in the center back, I stretch my collar just a little bit, not a lot. And then when I get closer to the shoulder seam, say from here to here, I don't stretch at all. I just let the binding meet the seam. Because if you stretch through here, you end up with little wrinkles up in your neckline area. Hey, Jessie, I just saw your text message. Does that mean you're watching and you're remembering about the giblets? Okay. Forgive me. I promise I won't. I will remember that this year. And yes, you can ask your husband about the hot dogs that I made him many years ago that didn't turn out very well. All right, so here I've got this extra section here. I'm just going to leave this for now, but I'll pin it right to the end. Because again, this is going to be a crossover V-neck. So I have this pinned, but I'm going to unpin this in a minute. So I have this extra fabric. If you hate to have extra fabric like this, then start pinning a different way. But for that little bit that's there, it doesn't really matter much to me. Okay, I'm stretching just a little bit. Now I'm getting close to the neckline, so, or I said the shoulder, I should say. We're on the whole neckline. And I'm still laughing. Jessie, don't be worried. Don't be worried. And we'll stretch just a little bit here. And now we're getting down to the point of the neckline. So this part can get a little tricky. So I'm going to try to pin this before I go to the serger so you can see what it's going to look like. Now you have to imagine that once this is tucked under, one side is going to look like this, and the other one is either going to go in front or behind it, whichever one you want. So sometimes I will actually lay this on top of each other first, just so I can make sure that number one, the point is going to be at my center mark. That's a little tricky to do. So if I line this up, and I'll hold this away from the shirt so you can see. So I have one piece of fabric going this way and one going this way. They're completely crossed. There's, you got it? Do you need to come closer or you got that? Now I'm going to trim some of this off, but not all of it yet, because sometimes I don't measure correctly since I'm eyeballing everything. Now let's put this back in place and see what we have. If you ever get a snag on your nail that always captures the fabric, yay. After I put the tree up tonight, I'll probably have a lot of those snags. So what I want to check is that this will lay flat. Both sides are even. They're both pulling exactly the same. And I have to tell you, that looks pretty darn good. I think that that will work. So I'm going to go to the serger and I'm going to stitch right along this line and right along this one. And you'll see it'll have a nice V. So I'll meet you over there. There you go. I want to make sure there are no pins under here while I do this, because that could end up being a very bad mistake. All right, so let's go ahead and just trim this side here. And now let's go and trim this side. And you'll see I have a perfect V. Now I'm still going to be serging this into the garment, so I didn't take this in like a 1/2 of an inch like for the seam allowance, but there's the V. See how nice that looks? It's all ready to attach to the top. It still gets a little tricky when you're trying to get this pinned. So now I can actually pin this to the rest of the neckline, like I can show you here. And this V, I'll pin it and then I'll show you a little closer. I guess it's easier just to show. So this is pinned all the way to the neckline. Got that? And if you look at the back side, there's my snip. So the snip will be just about, not quite a 1/2 of an inch from the edge, because then when I sew this side, this snip will open up. See what we got there? So where I snipped it, which was almost all the way to the seam allowance, but not quite. And then, so there's the collar, and my snip at the center front opens to each side of that V. That makes sense? All right. Now, when I go to run this through the serger, quite often I'll run it through the sewing machine first, but because we're in a hurry, I'm just going to run it through the serger. And I'm going to go from this side, but be very careful of the pins. So I might have to do the front again because I can't see that from here. That's why I usually baste it first. But let's just make it work, okay? And there are no pins down there. I'm double checking. You really want to make sure your fabric isn't folded at all. That's a whole different issue. And I'm going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance along here. And you know me, I really don't like pins very much. But for the neckline, unless I baste this together, it's really hard to do this without pins. All right, see that okay? I see somebody asking, what was the base for this pattern? I used, basically the ruche tee was the base for this pattern. You could use the Bella too, but the ruche tee. All right, we're getting back to the point. I got one more pin here, and I just want to make sure this fabric isn't folded at all underneath, or you end up with little puckers. And if I need to re-sew this at all in the center front, I can do that. So that side looks good. No puckering. No puckering. Yay, yay. Uh-oh. I see one little fold of fabric. Dang. All right, we'll get the seam ripper. Now you know, this is why you baste it. It's just a little spot right here, and I don't think it cut through the fabric, so I should be fine. Let's keep our fingers crossed, otherwise the neckline's just going to be a little wider. It's right on the edge where there was that extra fabric from the fold of the neckline. Just a little bit too much fabric to go through there. All right, let's see what we got. Can I salvage it, or do I have to recut the neckline? Nope, I can salvage it. All right, so now I'm going to stitch from this side. I'm just going to start a little bit higher so my serging blends in with all my stitching here. There's the little hole that I made, so I need to cut that over just a little bit, and I'll do it to the other side. So you know what that means? My neckline just got a little bit less wide in two areas. But as long as I do it to both sides, it doesn't matter. All right, now let's do it to this side. never happened. All right, now, here's the big reveal. How does the neckline look? Oh, it looks great. Let's go press that and make sure that it lays nice and flat. All right. Let's give it a little pressing here. This is where you can really tell, did it lay right? Did you get it all lined up right? Do I need to recut it? Did I screw anything up? Let's see. If so, I'll just recut a new neckline. But that one little hole might have caused a little bit of problem. And if there's any puckers, then I'll do the sleeves and come back and do another neckline. Let's see what we got here. Well, that hole did cause some issues that I can see there. As you can see, there's like this little bubble right where I took too much extra fabric in. So what should I do because I want to wear this today? I could just open that part up because the rest of the neckline looks great. Take a vote. Should I put a whole new neckline in or just open this part up and lower that just a little bit? Let's see, what time is it? I've got 15 minutes to finish this. Let's see how much room I need. All right. Plan B. I'm just going to trim at the lower front edge, not the whole thing. I'm trimming off my stitching. I know, dangerous. Just means my neckline just got a little bit lower. All right. And then here, by taking in that little extra at that hole, it ended up with a little pucker here, which I don't want. So let's see if we have enough fabric to make this work. Well, we do, except I have to just change the neckline just a little bit. It's not going to be a crossover. How about, let's see, where's the center? Because that snip is gone. Yeah, always when you're doing the V-neck, unless you're doing purposely having it an asymmetrical, you have to know where that center front is. So even though on winging this, I made a big boo-boo, it's salvageable. So let me mark my center front, which is about right here. You can see right there was that hole. Darn hole. Now if I lay this flat, I put this down, and I put this down, guess what? We're just going to change this V-neck. Cut that. This is called a design opportunity. So see how that will lay nicely now? It won't be crossed over, but that means I need to sew that together before it goes into here. And then I also need to make sure that's even because that's where that little hole was. All right, back to the serger. So maybe that should be our theme next week. 15-minute tops, actually 1 hour tops. 1 hour projects, items that you can start and finish in 1 hour. And if you screw it up, especially when you're live, make it work. All right, so here's my V. Looks like this. Almost looks like a poinsettia. I only know that because I just bought one of those. See, unfortunately, when your cat dies, it's very sad. But the good news is you can start having poinsettias around the house again. All right, let's slide this in there. I want a very, very skimpy seam here. I don't have a lot to work with. And if this doesn't work, then I have to cut a whole new one. But I think it will. So now that I fold that in half, like this, of one side that goes down to the center. Serge it from this side. It's easier to see for me. Maybe not for you, but I got to see it this time. So I'm going to take this V-neck, and if you have too much fabric, you can put one seam allowance one way and one the other. Just a little trick there. And I want that point, this point of my seam, to be right on that snip. There we go. So I'm stretching the binding just a little bit to make sure that it fits there. All right, there's one side. Now let's do the other side. Again, I'll start up just a little bit. That'll be a different look. You know, the good news is if I wear it once and I don't like it, I have enough fabric I can make a new collar. Oh yes, much better. So there's the V-neck. You can see the seam, and I'll give it a good pressing. But now I have, it's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit shorter in the front though. I don't know if I like that. Well, let's just get the sleeves in. What the heck? So the sleeves, I actually will pin just right here. And if I don't like the neckline, what I'll do is cut it and instead make a 3-inch, and that'll be what we have. I'll try it on first. So this is the back sleeve. This is the back sleeve here. And this is actually how I usually pin this. Can't do this on It So Easy, right in your lap. Now I eyeballed this, so I need to double check and pin this in place, because if for any reason my sleeve is a little longer or shorter than my arm's eye, I'll have to make adjustments for that. Wow, that was pretty good. Notice I leave my sleeve popped out just a little bit. Then I know that when I sew it, number one, I'm not missing any spots on the sleeve, because this fabric is a little bit, it's not slippery. It's not like velvet or anything, but it is a little different to work with. Hairy, that's the word. It's hairy. All right, let's get this one through. Again, I have a 1/2-inch seam allowance. I just want to make sure that my tail, my serge tail, doesn't get stuck in there. There we go. Oops, sorry. Slide that fabric over just a little bit. Serging looks great. Susie Berry, I don't know if you're on here, but you sure fixed my serger. It works fantastic now. And I'm still undetermined about the neckline because of the fact it's really short at the edge. It really looks a little bit weird. I'll probably be redoing that. All right, back to the other sleeve. Pin this in place. There's the back side. I always put a pin first at the shoulder, maybe a couple at the shoulder just to keep that in place. And then if you notice, the sleeve, the curve of the sleeve will kind of curve around the arm's eye. So there's the sleeve, there's the arm's eye. Fits there pretty good. All right, to the machine. Out of there. And if you have a hard time with sleeves, another option, just like the neckline, is to baste it in place first. And that way, you know, everything's laying flat. and then run it to the serger. All right. What you want to look for on the sleeve is make sure that your top of your sleeve cap has a nice curve, that there aren't any points, that there wasn't too much fabric at the top where it got stuck for any reason. All right, that looks good. Now I'm just going to pin my underarm seams together just at one mark. It's just kind of you could use clips too, by the way. Just going to lay this out. Since I eyeballed everything, I just want to make sure that everything lays flat. If there's any difference at the hem, I can change that, you know. Let's see what we got. No, that looks pretty good. All right, do the side seam from the sleeve all the way to the hem. Okay, there's the underarm. You want to make sure that that seam at your underarm matches. If it doesn't, you'll have a really odd fit. All right. Oh, that was a pretty good eyeballing. And you're going to have a hem at each end, so you don't have to worry about tying off your serged edge. Now let's go to the other arm. So I'm serging basically from the arm to the hem. Lynn, that's why you buy double the fabric, so if you screw up. Yeah, me too. Me too. Almost finished, and we're going to go right to the cover stitch and go ahead and do the hem. All right, looks great. Now, because we pressed up the hem at the sleeve, you can see I still have a crease right there. All I have to do is flip this up, fold it over, and look at how nice and flat that lays. So let's go to the cover stitch. Slide you over. Don't get seasick. I'm kind of leaning over the camera, so excuse me if I don't get this perfectly straight, but it should be close. I'm using, there's actually dark gray thread in there. That'll be fine. You won't even notice that on here. I would probably change it to, well, no, I probably would use a dark gray. That was just a lucky. Okay, I'm using 2 threads, the narrow. I'm just going to leave that needle in there. It won't bother me right now. Assuming it's all threaded. So you can see how I have the sleeve facing this way, and I can just go all the way in the round. I could also remove this area here, but I find this to be the easiest. All right, put your needle in the up position. You know, if I didn't screw up that neckline, I really would be done in less than an hour. I'm cutting the 2 top threads, pull that to the back side. And then I'll cut my old threads from the front. All right, we got one more sleeve here, and then we have our hem. And don't forget, if you guys have questions, go ahead and ask, because tonight I'll be reading most of your comments since I can't see them while I'm sewing. Now, one thing I will not do is I will not run the hem through without pressing the hem up and using the clapper on knits, because that is a real pain to rip out. Now, I can cut a whole new neckline, but I'm not ripping out a whole serged hemline. So, all right, we got 2 sleeves done. Now let's go to the iron and press up our hem, and we're just about finished. If it wasn't for the neckline, we'd be almost finished, but we got one more step. Melody, you are hilarious. All right, so this is the back. So I want to make sure the seam allowance goes towards the back. It's a little tricky when you have a curve, you know, at the side seam. So if you have a hard time here, just make your curve a little broader. If it's too sharp, it gets a little tricky to turn up to hem, just by the way. Maybe I should just wear this with the neckline the way it is tomorrow. And then I can change it on Friday. And it'll be like wearing 2 different tops as long as I put it through the wash, right? All right, here's the side. And again, when it comes to that curve, you're going to want to make sure both sides lay nicely. Play nicely too. Because if you've ever done one of these curved edges, sometimes I will have the hem allowance a little less right here. I let the fabric figure out where it really wants to lay the nicest. Don't force it. So if you have to go back and trim a little bit after hemming, do that. But if you start to fold this hem over and it's not laying, no matter what you do, it's not going to lay after you sew it. All right, getting back around to the end. All right, back to the cover stitch machine. Marcia says, try it on first. Okay, I'll do that. You're right. I don't know. I think it doesn't look very good from eyeing it from here, but I'll put it on the dress form. All right, I'm starting at the side seam. That's always a good spot. That way, if when you cross back over, if the seams aren't perfect, you'll know. All right, we're getting back to where I started. I can see my seam. You can't see it probably, but I can. And right back at the side seam, put your needles in the up position. If you're new to sewing with knits, you all know I have, or if you're new here, I have 3 online classes that can help you sew knits. Sewing with knits, I've got one on cover stitch, learning how to use your serger, all those. All right, there's the hem. Now, if I have any areas like right at that curve where I have a little bit of extra fabric here, I can go back and trim that. And I'll show you what that looks like real quick. Let's go to press this first. I see somebody asking, what's the coupon? Oh, you want to know the coupon? I'll tell you in just a minute. The coupon goes into effect for both my websites at midnight tonight, and it will stay until the end of birthday sewing week. So it will cover fabric, the clapper, my custom scissors, all that. I thought I would make it easy. It's all caps, birthday 2021. No, I'm not putting my age. I put birthday 2021 as that's going to be the code, just so you know. All right, now that looks really nice, but there's a couple areas here that just has a little bit of extra fabric that I was mentioning, and this is how I actually trim it. See that? There's just a little bit of extra fabric right here. Fold it back and take your ginormous scissors and just glide your scissors right along there. If you pull the fabric, it'll actually just pull your hem right off for you. That area is fine. It usually happens in the bottom curves right here, because like I said, I'd rather have the fabric lay nicely and play nicely than to force it, and then all of a sudden I've got my hem is sticking out. Here we go, and we've got two more sides. You don't have to trim this off, but with this fabric, it'll kind of curl a little bit, so I'd prefer to trim it off so it doesn't add any extra bulk at the hemline. We don't need any extra bulk at the hip line, right? Hemline, hip line, you name it. I don't want that extra. And you can see you could actually just pull the fabric underneath the edge of your blade from your knife. Just make sure that you don't trim it too close and you cut through the right side. All right, now I'm going to press this neckline just to see what I've got. I just think it's crooked and I'm not going to like it. So I'll press it and we'll see. But you can see right here, this side is much shorter than this side. So either I got to keep making it shorter. I don't know, we'll see. Let me give it a pressing. Oh yeah, I am not going to like that. No way, Jose. Don't like the neckline. So I'm going to redo that, but I have to be somewhere at 3. So it's going to have to wait till after my appointment at 3. So here you go. This is my top I'm wearing this weekend. Our velvet, fabulous velvet. Does the hemline get lopsided? No. You do it evenly everywhere, Marcia. So I just curve each one of those curves evenly. So that when you saw, that's where I was trimming it. So the part that I didn't trim it was on each side, and each side will be fine. Now the whole neckline, that's a whole different ball of wax. Okay, what do we got? Ooh, she's a little bit low. How low can you go? All right, so what do you think? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the color. It's a great blue. This is just a little bit low. I'm going to cut this off, and I'm going to make it, instead of 2 inches, now I'm going to make it 3 inches. And I think that'll look great. I could wear this tomorrow this way if I want to. It's not perfect, and even though you see me winging it, I'm a perfectionist from you know what. So, oh, there's my snips. All right, any questions before I let you all roll? And I'm wishing you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. So here is your code, and hold on a second. Oops, I typed the wrong one. Sorry. Birthday 2021. Fashion Sewing Club, you know you get a separate email because you guys get something a little extra, but this is going to be the coupon code for Angela Wolf Patterns and the app. So fabrics, patterns, it will go in effect starting tonight, and it will run all the way through birthday week. So that way, if I'm sewing something next week and you're dying to have it, this is always the best time. So I have a whole new batch of fabrics coming in. You're going to be very excited about, not velvet, I've got some tweeds and some new knits and a lot of sweater knits because that's the time of year. So any other, I'm wishing you all a happy Thanksgiving too. I know, we're all finished. Now I just got to finish the top. So have a happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to go back and read all of your comments so I can find out what I'm missing for Thanksgiving, what I need to fix. I agree. Jennifer, nice to see you. Denise, happy. Arnell, yes, 3 purples coming in, different shades of purple. I've got a dark purple, a medium purple, and kind of a mauve purple. Oh, Jennifer. Yes, the jeans pattern is the boot cuts up, but there's a class that will include a pattern. You have to stay tuned. It's coming next week. So assuming technology works, okay. That's what I always say now. All right, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Making sure I'm not missing any last repeat code, please. It is capital letters, birthday 2020. Not to be confused with birthday suit. Birthday 2020. Let me see if I can bring it up for you. I don't know if it'll let me put it up twice. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, thank you. And in case you're wondering, why am I coming up as a Facebook user? I'm actually live streaming in our private group as well to make it easy for you to see since I was a few minutes late. Enjoy the long coma food weekend. I agree. Thanks, Stacy. Thank you. All right, there you go. That is the code. Capital letters, birthday 2021. It goes into effect at midnight tonight, so don't stay up. It'll be there for the whole next week. Now, there are some fabrics that I'm running low on, and I'm not going to recarry. So if you see fabrics on the app in any of those places, and it usually will tell you how many yards are left, but you can keep an eye on that. Now, what you can do, by the way, is you can put it in your shopping cart now, and the shopping cart will hold for 24 hours. So if you put it in your shopping cart and wait to check out until midnight or tomorrow sometime, then you can save it for you. That's a little trick I learned. I don't do that on my own stuff, but I do that on others. All right. Happy Turkey Day. Glenda, thank you. I think I just saw a card come from you. You are awesome. I haven't opened it yet. Hey, Peg. Happy birthday back to you. And yes, Debbie, the people that have to work this weekend, hang in there, especially those that were at the grocery store. It's 2021, right? Isn't this your 2021? If I said it wrong, it's 2021. Birthday 2021. The discount, by the way, is 25% off for everyone. And Fashion Sewing Club, you get 30%. So your code will be emailed to you later this afternoon. So if you're in the Fashion Sewing Club, 30%, that's huge. If you're not, you still get 25% off. So for those of you that have been wondering, should I join the Fashion Sewing Club? They always get discounts to everything. In fact, it pays for their club. Well and well over. Oh, thanks, guys. I must have screwed that up. Did I write birthday 2020? There you go. I don't even know what year it is. Well, actually, I do know what year it is. You want to know why? Because I just cleaned out my pantry to make room for all the food, and there was something, a seasoning that expired in 2012. I had to call my sister and make sure I wasn't like getting my numbers mixed up. Good news, Jess. If you're still watching, I threw it in the trash. Yes, another code for you cool kids. All right, everyone. Have a great Thanksgiving. I will see you on, well, I can't tell you. I'll see you next week. Watch for your newsletters, but next week is birthday week, so I will see you on Monday for sure to kick off the week and let you know what's going to happen. All right, everyone. Have a good day. Thanks for watching, and wish me luck on my neckline. Bye. Maybe. I think it's leaving. Did this happen last week? We'll just hang out for a little bit. There we go. We're leaving. Bye.